just going to start helping you draw the floor plan, okay? I'm going to give you some tips on how to go about that. So, let me zoom out here a little bit. Close that out. Close that out. The first thing I want to remind you is that we're going to open the drawing file to start the floor plan. So I'm going to go to my desktop here. I'm going to open up my floor plan 01, okay? And I want to remind you that when I change any of the drawing in my floor plan 01, it's going to be reflected in my final project automatically, right? That's what the XREF system will do for us. So I'm going to double click on floor plan 01, okay? And we're going to get drawing here. So I need to, because I'm not very good at keeping up my template, right? I need to make sure I have some layers, wall, glazing, furniture. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to call this a working layer. And I like to create a working layer, and I like to make it a weird color, like purple, so that it stands out from all my other layers. So if I need to draw stuff that's weird or use construction lines to draw things, I like to make it a working layer so I can turn it off and it gets rid of everything on that layer visually, right? But it also, as I'm drawing, it stands out from the other layers, you know, so I can see it. So I think that's pretty good. I guess I can create layers as I need them. Viewport, well, I'm not going to be printing from this file. Otherwise, I would create one. I'm just going to be printing from my final project file. All right, so let's look at this drawing, okay? And I think I brought up a few points about this floor plan. But one kind of really big thing about this floor plan that you're going to want to notice, right? And this is kind of something I do every time I draw something. I like to look at it and see if there's a system in place that will help me draw it. So number one, I look here and I see a bunch of columns, right? And I see that these columns, you know, this one's spaced at 12 foot, but I also have a 4 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot increment, 12 foot, 4 inch dimension here, okay? And I look down this one side and I see, you know, 11 foot and 4 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot, 8 foot. I look on this other side and I see that all of the dimensions are not identical, but pretty close, right? We have a lot of similarities. It's identical to this point. And then we have a wall here and we have a window with a wall right there. But from top to bottom, it is pretty close. The increments are pretty close. Okay. I also noticed that I have some wall pieces, right? That's a 6-inch wall. I've got some dimensions there telling me what's going on. And I also see that I have this structural, these columns, right? I have a structural grid happening. I've got a lot of blocks in here that I'll likely download from the AD Center or Draw, whatever, right? I've got doors. I've got windows and doors that need to be blocks, right? So good to know. But those are the things I'm kind of seeing here, right? I'm also seeing that I have these dimensions that show kind of where things are at, but then I have these overall dimensions. So those are going to help me make sure that I can get this floor plan the right size, okay? All right, so before we begin this, I want to show you a command that I think is going to help you. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to create a dimension style here, okay? So I'm going to create a new dimension style, and okay, we want it annotative. There we go. And we'll hurry through by layer, by layer, by layer, by layer. Looks good. We may just get to the floor plan today, which I think is okay, because I don't think, do any of you have it drawn, except for Deb? Okay. So we may get through the floor plan, what I want to talk about with the floor plan today, and then maybe over the weekend you can get some of the floor plan banged out, and then on Monday we'll do the elevation. That might be a better workflow. Okay. All right, so let's see. We want this to be an architectural tick, and oh, yep, that looks good.
Do we want to change that to architectural units instead of...
Yes. Yep. So that's coming up next. Yep. So I'm going to create a new style called dim style, And I kind of like to just change it so visually we can see something happening. And City Blueprint I choose because that's what AJC used. It's very architectural, right? Okay. So that's good. Set current, close that out. And by layer, we want it above and centered, aligned with dimension line, right? We're gonna leave all these. We'll change this to architectural. Precision looks good. Horizontal, that looks good. I think I'm okay with most of this stuff. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I've created a dimension style. And now I want to, and I created a dimension style because when I draw floor plans, when I construct floor plans, I'm constantly using dimensions to help me, right? One of the things that is very tricky about AutoCAD is that it can visually trick you, right? You can draw something and it looks like it's 18 miles wide and you measure it and it's half an inch, right? There's no, unless there's a few things drawn in AutoCAD, and even if there are a few things, you know, it can be very visually deceiving. So I like to have dimensions or lines in there that sort of give me scale and let me know that I'm doing things right. Okay, so you'll see me do that a lot. Okay, I want to introduce you to the Ray command, your new best friend, and also to the X-line command. Okay, so I've got the X-line command right here. Bless you. And I have the Ray command here. All right. These are going to be tools, line tools that I'm going to use to help me draw my floor plan and then also my elevations. All right. I'm going to switch to my working layer here real quick so my lines will be purple so you can see that. And then I'm going to show you what these two commands do. Okay. The X-line command, it creates a line that is infinite in length in both directions. So if I click on X-line, and I believe the shortcut is XL, right? I can click and it creates an infinitely long line, okay? I can press F8 and it creates an infinitely straight line, right? So I click again, I hit escape, and that line places itself, right? But I've got this line that doesn't begin or end anywhere in AutoCAD, right? Wherever I scroll, unless I delete it, it's there, okay? What's nice about that is that it's different from every other line in AutoCAD, right? Number one, it's purple. Number two, it's infinite in length. And so when I'm trying to construct things and I'm trying to differentiate a line I want to keep from a line I don't want to keep, right? These infinitely long lines kind of say, hey, you're using this to help you draw, but you're not going to keep me. Okay, so I will draw these X lines, and for example, I'll set some datums with them, right? So I've got this column on the corner here, okay? So I'm going to draw that little column, rectangle, click at 8,8. Oh, look how tiny that is, right? Compared to, I'm gonna move it over near my X line. In fact, I'm going to delete my X line so I can get very close on my column. There you go. I'm going to redraw it. Okay, so I drew my little rectangle or my little square here. And now I have to start constructing where the next rectangle falls. And it is 12 feet from the center line of this first column, yeah. Okay, so what I do here is I would grab this X line, M for move, or I could just draw it in the right place, you know, the first time. But I would move it to the center point of that column. And then to place this next one 12 feet off that one, I would use offset, enter, 12 foot, enter, click, click. Okay, and immediately I'm starting to get some nice lines that are gonna help me place those objects. And while I'm doing X lines, I might as well just continue with them, right? So I'm going to do a 4 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do 5 4-foot offsets. Offset, 4 foot, enter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have another 12-foot offset, which takes me to the center line of my last column there. Okay, so O for offset, enter, 12 foot, enter, There we go. So now I can grab this little column and I can copy it, okay? And it's to the center line on each of those. So I can grab it and I can C-O, enter, copy. I'm going to click that midpoint. You make sure my ortho is on, so I'm going straight. Perpendicular, click. Perpendicular, click. Perpendicular, click. Right, so I just go along here and I continue to place them knowing that this very final one is the last stop. Click. Get rid of that first, just a second. Oop. Okay. So now I have all of the columns along that, we'll say that, is that north, right? Along that north side. Okay. So what's really great about that now is that I know I can create my window blocks, right? And I can just pop them in between all those columns, and I can create my door block and I can pop it in between those columns, right? And I'm going to say I generally know that all these things are in the right place because I used this this element that has pretty good integrity, and I just kept offsetting it, okay? So I think that everything seems to be in the right place. All right, and I can differentiate my columns from my X lines, right? So I know which lines I'm going to keep and which ones I'm not going to keep, okay? So I use X lines a lot, right, for drawing things like this, and I also use the ray command, R-A-Y, and I tend to use ray more because I can type it with one hand, R-A, and enter, and it predicts it, right? But what the ray command does is it allows you to do the same thing, but the line that you generate is only in one direction. Okay, so it's an infinitely long line in length, but it only goes in one direction. So I use ray a lot and I use X line to construct things. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter for ray, and I'm going to draw a ray that goes along the top of all of those columns because I look down this edge now and I have an 11-foot offset from here to here, and it starts at that top edge of that column, okay? So I'm kind of looking at maybe getting my structural grid placed here. So I think what I'll do is I'll place all of these outer columns, right? And then I'll draw the walls in between them. All right, so we have our first offset. So our ray right here is in line with the top of that column. So I have an 11-foot offset, and then I have a 4-foot, 6-foot, 4-foot, 8-foot. Okay, so let's just start offsetting. Offset, enter, 11-foot, enter, and I click, click, and then I have an offset, enter, 48 inches, enter, and I've got one right there, and I have a 6-foot offset, offset, enter, 6-foot, enter, okay, and then I have a 4-foot, offset, enter, 48 inches, enter, okay, and then I have another 8-foot offset, offset, enter, 8-foot, enter, there we go, and that looks like it goes to the center line of that column right there. Okay, so now I'm gonna copy this column down, and it looks like it's center line, center line, center line, center line, and I have one more center line right there. CO, enter, and I'm gonna grab my midpoint, and I'm gonna come down here, and I'm gonna grab that right there. All right, just click them all the way down. Now, if you start questioning yourself, thinking, all right, well, I think I did everything right, but I'd really like to double check this system and just make sure that everything stayed where it should, or I didn't happen to mistype one of the offsets, right? So that's where my dimensions come in. So I'm going to click on dimension. Oh, we'll leave it 1 to 1 for now. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, I want to do a linear dimension, or an aligned. So I'm going to click, click. Oh, what happened there, right? I've got a mini little dimension, so I'm going to change my annotation scale to, let's do a 1/4 inch for now. Great. I want to continue that dimension, so I come up here to, I'm still in my dimension dialog box, continue. So I click, and I just start click, click, right? And I like to, again, these are my working layer, right? So I know that if it's purple, it's my working layer. I know that anything on there can be deleted. But I like to almost sometimes leave these because it's a good visual indication that something, you know, could potentially get out of place. And I don't want that to happen, obviously, right? Dim continue. So I like to leave them so I can reference them. Here we go. Okay. So now I know everything looks pretty good. Yep.
Well, I guess I can ask after. I was just going to see about the dimensions. Can you go through that one more time as far as what you set everything to?
All the dimensions. I can, yeah. It's gonna be in the video. All of the same settings. Yeah, slower down, right? Okay, so dimensions look pretty good, and now I know that all looks well. All right, so now it's time for me to create some columns over on this other side. Okay, so while my architectural elements are, we actually have one extra column in there. So while my architectural elements are slightly different, I have another window right here and I have an extra column right there. A lot of these are pretty similar, right? So I have a 4 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot, 8 foot. Okay, so really I could probably grab all of these columns, CO, copy, and I could copy them over to here. Right? And the difference is between those two, the east and west sides, is this little guy right here. So I could offset a 4 foot line here, but I don't really need to because it's kind of an, it's an off element. So I'm going to copy 48 inches, and there's my extra column right there. Okay. So I've got all of my columns along here, right? I've got all of my columns up here, all of my columns over here. All right, let me get all my columns along this bottom edge. So it looks like I've got 8 foot and then 4 foot, 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 8 foot, which is slightly different again than the upper, right? So I think it's safe now where I could probably get rid of these offsets here. I'm going to delete those X lines. And I'm going to re-offset starting right here. So this little column right here, because these are slightly different and I want to get them right, I'm going to start another offset of X lines on the bottom. Okay, so these look really good. Done with those. Delete them out. Start some on the bottom. Okay, so I have my first one here. So that's from the center line of that column. So I'm going to do an 8 foot. Offset, enter, 8 foot, click, click, and I know that happens on the other side as well, so I just did that 8 foot offset right there, and the rest are 4 feet. So offset, enter, 4 feet, and we just offset away. Okay, looks really good. And now we're just going to copy. These columns are all in line with each other, so I'm going to grab this column and copy it. CO, enter. And just start copying columns. I'm clicking, I'm panning, I'm holding my middle roller button down, right? Click, middle roller down, click, right? Using my snaps to grab those. Okay. So now, really, let's look. The only columns that well, there's the inner columns, which I'm not going to do. I'll let you guys do those. But I'm basically going to construct kind of the outer framework here, I think, today. But really now we've got kind of where the building jogs right here, right? So we have a column here, here, and then another one here. And we can assume, you know, this is 4 foot to here, this is 8 foot, that one bisects it. So we've got a column at 4 feet here, another 4 foot one that lines up with that one. So let's draw those. They happen here. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to CO, copy, click, 48 inches, enter. And then I have another one right here, CO, click there. And then we have one more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, right there. Well, gosh, I said I was just going to do the outer ones, but maybe I'll just grab that inner one. Well, no, we'll do that in a minute. We'll do that in a minute. I want to stay on task and keep my mind straight, so I'm just going to do the outer elements for right now. we've got the same thing over here. So I'm going to grab this and CO copy, click, 4 foot, enter, CO copy. There we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oop, make sure I get my perpendicular snap so it's straight. Looks good. Okay, so we have our structural grid happening. It looks pretty good. I think I've got most of the elements, right? And now what I want to do is I want to draw my walls in between these, okay? And then I want to create a window and some doors that we're going to put there, and I'll do the railings as well, all right? Okay, so I don't think I need any of these X lines anymore. I think that, I mean, that looks pretty abstract, right? But I think from looking at my drawing over here and knowing that these are all not fairly, they are in the right spot, that I can draw everything in between, okay? So I'm going to start drawing this direction. I'm going to draw this wall here, and then I'm going to draw this wall here, and I'll just start drawing these wall segments in here and closing this place up. So we have a wall that is 6 inches in thickness, and it goes from here to here. These columns, whoops, are 8 inches in depth, which means that the wall is slightly narrower, right, than the column. So I'm going to use the line command, and I'm going to connect those two, and I'm going to offset that line 3 inches on either side. So that I have a 6-inch thick wall, right? Easy enough. Offset, enter. 3 inches, enter. Click, 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 and I'm going to delete. Okay, looks pretty good. Now I have this one right here to draw, and that one is going to be 3'4". The wall is going to go all the way to here, but it's going to stop 3'4" off of that column, so that's 40 inches. L for line, shift right click from, click, 40 inches, enter. Let me do that one more time. From can be a little tricky. You have to like practice it several times to get it to work. L for line, enter. I want it to start here, and I want it to go all the way over to here, but I want it to be from this point over 40 inches. So shift right click from this point, click, and I move my mouse back 40 inches, enter. Okay, I move my mouse back because that's the way the line will generate. If I were to have moved my mouse forward, it would have generated in the opposite direction. So now I'm going to offset this again. O for offset, enter, 3 inches, enter, click, 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 click. I delete that line, L for line, click, click, and I have that wall right there. So now I have some windows, I have a door, another window, window, window. Now I want to create some more wall here. And that wall segment is also 3'4" from there. So what if well, I'm gonna use mirror, I think. I'm gonna draw a little piece of line right there so I can grab a midpoint off of it. Okay. Let me show you how to use mirror. I'm gonna grab this wall and I'm gonna mirror it about the middle of that line so I get the same wall on that side. MIR, mirror, select, enter, grab the midpoint, click, click, enter, and I have that same wall. Okay. Now, you might have started the mirror command and then you were like, oh, great. I don't know where the midpoint is. So, right? How do I figure that out? Let's see if we can, I'm not positive if we can do this, but let's see if we can do an M2P. Mirror, this, enter. Specify the first point of the mirror line. Well, let's see. Shift right click, M2P. Well, it's letting me do it. So I want it to be the midpoint between the edge of that column and the edge of that column. Magically it worked, right? I think half the battle of AutoCAD is just thinking of what is going to help you the most, right? Sometimes it's hard to figure those out. So I hit enter and I've got my mirrored object. Okay. I also could have just used the from command and had drawn it just like I did on the other side, right? Which would have been fine too. So now it's time for me to draw my line over here, my walls over here. And so L for line, again, I'm just going to draw a line down the center, and then I'm going to offset it 3 inches. Offset 3 inches, enter, click, 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 delete, right? So I have that right there.
You said 3 inches?
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Yep, 3 inches on either side, so it'll be 6 inches total.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we have window, 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 right? We turn the corner, window, 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 door. I've got a railing that goes from here to here, from there to there, so maybe we'll draw that. I'm going to create a new layer. A dash floor dash railing. And we'll make that magenta. Okay. So that railing says 2 inches, L for line. So I'm just going to connect it here. Oh, I forgot a column over here, didn't I? I sure did. So copy that over 48 inches. L for line.
I think that was,
Oh, no, I didn't.
yeah,
That's right.
the one that you had over there was that one.
Oh, it is. It's that one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, no, it's good. So now I need to extend that line. EX, enter, enter. Okay. And then I would offset it, enter. And this is going to be 1 inch on either side because it's a 2-inch railing. There we go. Offset, enter. Here's one. There's the other. I delete that middle point. And now I've got the railings there. They're identical on the other side, so let's mirror it. MI, enter. I select my objects, enter. Let's do the M2P again. I want to mirror it, and I want it to be mirrored about a point that is directly center line of this whole floor plan. So shift right click, mid between 2 points, click, click, and that centers the mirror axes, right? So I click again, enter, and it mirrors that railing there. All right, so we've got window, window, door, window, window, door, but I do have some wall here. Oh, I missed my column there, didn't I? So let's grab this and CO, copy, 48 inches down, right? I tend to use inch increments whenever I can, right? Because I like typing 48 instead of 4 and then having to find the foot mark right next to the enter key, right? So I will do that all day long as opposed to having to hit the foot mark, right? So let's see where we're at now. Okay, so we've got our little wall piece right there, L for line. Okay, and we're gonna offset that 3 inches. There we go. Looks pretty good. And I'm just going to copy this one, CO, copy from the midpoint. There we go. So it's somewhat starting to look like this little floor plan, right? Looking pretty good. Okay, so now we've got the railings, we've got the walls here, those look really good. Let's create some windows to put in here. So we've got a window schedule here. It's very simple, of course. We have 3 foot wide windows. Hello. Oh, and do you leave your zip drive here?
Yep.
Yep.
Leaving things as if the whole semester doesn't depend on it.
Don't worry, Deb always turns it in. Okay. So our windows are going to be 3 feet wide, and we've got 6 inches, right, thick, and 2-inch frames on both sides. So let's create a window block, right? If we didn't have one already, which you likely do have, right? But I'll just create one. And I'll create one attribute, which will just be the number. So, and I'm just going to draw it in place, okay, because it's going to work for me. If I don't want to draw it right here, I could use the line tool or the X line tool, XL, and I could mark where those, ooh, that was bad, huh? XL. There we go. Okay. And I could draw the window just above this if I wanted to. Yep.
I'm having an issue where when I initially did my W blocks, and you would enter the dash dash where the number would typically be.
Uh-huh.
When I try to initially change it, it doesn't work. So I just have to redraw it. I've tried to copy and then paste, so like I'll copy it from the W block from the original, and I'll put it off to the side, and then I'll move it. I can't change it.
It won't allow you to change the attribute at all,
The number.
the number of it.
Yeah.
You may want to just delete the attribute and recreate the attribute. Honestly, yeah. It happens. Okay, so I'm going to draw my block now, but now, you know, I'm starting to remember, hey, maybe I need to use some layers, right? Some different layers than I've been using, because all of these are on the same layer, which is very incorrect. So we'll change that. And I know that I have to create my window block on layer 0. So I'm going to do that. L for line, right click, and I'm going to draw my window. It's going to be 6 inches. Come over here. There we go. Offset. And it's going to be a 2-inch frame. That's the best ring ever. Who gets extra credit for saying what that is? You knew. Okay, well, I guess more people in Utah know what that is than most. But
We work with hunters. That's all they talk about for a year.
yep.
Probably 80% of the men I know have that exact same ring.
Really? Well, the funny thing is I was going to go tell my husband about it. Be like, guess what? Just change your phone. No, I'm joking. He does hunt, though. But
It's just funny to watch, like, you like, that goes off in the grocery store, like, 5 out of 10 guys grab their pocket rings. I don't know.
well, that's so funny.
Ducks too. I have half of my company. They all have like the duck call.
Ducks? Oh, that's too funny. That's great. That's pretty funny. Okay, so we have our we've got our window here, L for line. I'm going to finish up. I've got my window created, and now it's time for me to attribute that. So 1, 2, 3, that's a hexagon. So I'm going to create a little polygon here. Okay, and I want it to have 6 sides. Enter. Click. Enter. Specify the radius. We'll make it a 6-inch radius, which makes it a 12-inch diameter. I'm going to grab it. M for move, because I want it to be I want it to be right in the center of that window. So M for move, and I just move it back up 2 inches or whatever, right? So it's right where I want it to be. Now I need to create my attribute. So I go into insert, define
That
it.
is the block we just created, right? The one that's at the bottom of the PDF. Right here.
Oh yeah, yes. Yep.
That looks weird.
It looks a little different, huh? Mine's the opposite direction too. Okay, let's create our attribute. So this one's going to be visible, and I want this one to be the window tag.
Oh shoot. I made the attribute like the pentagon, whatever thing with 5 points instead of 6. Would that matter?
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Yep. Window tag. Default, my little dash dash. We want it to be middle center. And we want this to be, what is my dim style height? I'm going to click on standard for this one. I'm going to give it a height of, we'll do 5 inches. Okay. Now I want this to be
What was the height you did that?
5 inches. Because that tag is going to be 12 inches total, right? So 5 is pretty good. So if I had to do 2 digits, they would both fit. Yep. So I just hovered over here. Yep.
You're just hovering.
Yep, I'm just hovering.
I've been battling that one.
You're like, where is it? I know it's there.
But I can't.
So it's going to be probably that thing's going to be the most helpful, right? So if I see me check that back on, and now it's back. I'm just touching, I'm hovering, and I come over here, do the same thing. and should engage. Click. Yep.
So we're not doing annotative on that, right?
No.
Okay, that's what was getting.
Yep. I know we have to go back and forth on a few of these things, but yes, this one's not going to be annotative.
Great.
All right, window tag, and now everything looks good. So I'm gonna block this. Okay. So I'm going to W block this. Pick point will be corner. Convert to block. Select my objects, and I choose where I want to save it. So because I'm working on my final project, maybe I just compile a little block library in my final project, right? So that they're all there. So we'll call this final project blocks. And this will be our A dash glazing dash 36-inch ATT. Save it. Okay. And we've got, we'll just start with A. Okay. All right, so I have some windows I need to put in here. Oh, I need to change it to 1. So click, click. 1. Okay. That's what should happen, right, Sky? So if it's not, just delete the attribute and I'd recreate it.
Can you show me how to delete the attribute?
Yeah, so what you'd want to do is just explode your block, X, enter, click on it, hit delete, and create a new one.
And I know I asked this before, but how do I unexplode?
You have to reblock it.
Okay.
So by exploding, you broke the block association, right? You deleted the attribute. You're going to recreate the attribute. Then you're going to re-W block it and save over the top of the old one. Yep. Now, here's actually one thing that might have happened with your Sky now that I think about it. You may have, when you created your attribute, you might have checked like constant. And that, if you had checked constant and then you click the default as like check, check, right? It wouldn't allow you to change it. So maybe.
I don't think that the constant's checked because the prompt box is no longer available, so
Yeah. Something though.
that helps.
Okay. Good, good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this into place, right? And get rid of these markers and just copy this around. So we've got windows everywhere basically, except for, of course, where the doors happen. So I'm going to zoom out here and I'm going to CO copy. I'm going to copy to here. I'm going to copy, let's see, is that the door? Nope. I'm going to copy to here. And then we have space for a door, so I'm going to skip that. I'm going to copy to there, and I'm going to copy to there, and I'm going to copy to there.
And you'll save the 0 layer as you do.
So I'm going to change them to glazing eventually, right? You'll see I'm kind of, I maybe sloppy is the right word, right? I'm kind of sloppy with my layers, but I eventually get there.
That's probably hard.
I feel like it's a little bit cumbersome to continue to flip back and forth between layers, especially since there's not a quick, it's probably because there's not a quick key, right? If I could quick key it, I would do it. But since I'm very lazy, I have to move all the way up here, go to home, click on this, or click down here. I don't do it. Yeah. But I could, come here, grab that one, drop down, change it to glazing, right? And then match properties, MA, enter, click. And I can grab all those at the same time. There we go.
And so would you, since they're all 1 right now, would you go back and change them?
Yep.
Can you just do that real quick?
Yep. Oop. Oop.
What other attribute did you add?
I didn't add another one.
no.
I just did
Oh,
the name of the. Yep, just one. Okay, 2. Okay. Click, click. 3. Okay. And then we've got click, click. Oop. Click, click. 4. Okay. Click, click. 5. Okay. Click, click. 6. Okay. Yep. There we go. Okay. So maybe now is a good time. I can grab my walls and I can change those to wall, MA match properties. And I'm going through, and you see I'm using a blue selection window, right? Now, because these windows are all blocked, the only way that I can maybe capture one line would be to, I think David's gone for the night. Sorry. I think the only way that you could capture one line would be you wouldn't because it's all blocked, but I still tend to do like a blue selection window, just trying to not capture things over here, I guess, just habit. But I'm using a blue selection window to grab all of that, right? Easy enough. There you go. Okay. And I switch between blue and green all the time. There we go. There we go. Pretty good. Now these are handrails, so I created a handrail layer. MA, enter, match properties again. Grab those, there we go. Save, of course, frequently so that we don't lose anything, right? Okay. So let's create, let's copy our windows around a little bit more, and then I'll add a door block in here. So I have a window here and here that I need to bring in. So I'm going to CO copy. And again, you know, AutoCAD, I don't always get everything in the right spot the first time, right? It said that. So I'm going to get it over there very close to where it needs to go. I'm going to RO rotate it. Turn my ortho on so it's straight. Click M for move. Click. Oh, I probably should have grabbed the midpoint because this is wider than the window. So M for move. Click, click. And on my little piece of text, and my tag is the wrong way, right? So we have to rotate that. So I'm going to click, click on it. Click, click. Oh, click, click. Come on. There we go. And that's going to be number 24. So 24. And I'm going to go back here to the text options tab. And instead of the rotation being 90, I'm going to change it to 0. Okay. I'm going to hit OK. And now there's 0 rotation on it. It reads upright. So this one's larger than that one, so I'm going to grab this, CO, copy, and drop it in there. We've got one here and here, so CO, rotate it, M for move, and I'm going to click, click on it, text options, rotate 0. Okay, and it rotates it. So that'll be 14 now, right? I'm not getting all the numbers right, but we'll change a few of them. CO, copy. Oh, that one's in the wrong spot. M for move. Perpendicular. There we go. Okay, looks pretty good. So I'm tempted to mirror a few of these things because I know this, and I know that these 3 windows will be in the same spot here. Oh, that's actually a door. Whoops. I know they'll be in the same spot. I'm questioning if the text will read right for me. So let me do it, and if it doesn't work, we'll do it a different way. So I'm going to MI mirror. Click, 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 enter. And I want it to be between the mid between 2 points. I want my mirror axes to be right directly midpoint between those 2 points. So I'm going to shift right click, M2P. I'm going to choose that endpoint, click, and that endpoint, click. And there they go. Click, enter, and it worked really well. There we go. There is a setting in AutoCAD that, and it looks like it's correct in this one, but it's called mirror text. MIRRTEXT, and it's a toggle, and if you hit enter, it says 0 right there, but if you change it to 1, the text will mirror, but it won't be read the right way. It'll be opposite. The text will mirror itself, so it won't be readable, right? So if you mirror some text and it's not readable, just change the toggle, and it will be fine. And it's mirror text, MIRRTEXT. Okay. So we've got another little window to put up here, so I'm going to copy that. CO, click, click. Looks pretty good. We've got a bunch of windows down here. Grab this, CO, copy. I'm going to press F8 and just, well, that's stairs right there between those 2 columns. So click, click, click. All of these are windows, right? We get to the stairs here. We have a window there and there. And as I copy these, you're going to see now we have a bunch of these windows that are oriented correctly with regard to the tag, right? So now I know I need to put a window right there. I'm going to grab this window, copy, because it's the tag is the right direction, right? So I click on that. I come over here, and I'm going to grab this window to put right there. CO, copy, click, click, right? And I've got my stairs there, so I can create a stair layer. White's probably a good layer color. I'm gonna leave that. L for line. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 risers. So offset 11 or 12 inches is probably good. 1, 2, 3. L for line. Just finish off those lovely stairs. The tread? 9? No, not a 9-inch tread? I don't think so. You can have, the riser can go up to 9 in certain instances. It's not usually very common. But no, I think the minimum tread is 10 inches for a residential project. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Man, I'd be tripping downstairs if there was a 9-inch tread more than I do now, right? Copy. I can copy them over there. You know, and as I start to draw more things in here, right? And I draw things that are identical in nature, right? Like those windows are identical. And as I copy them around, if they don't fit in an opening, right, there's something wrong. So you'll have to move something, figure something out. So if you have something off, it's going to show real quick.
I noticed that with the door number 8, but I measured all the walls right, but they say this is what the dimensions of the wall, but the door is like those blocks make it too big.
There's,
I was gonna ask about that too.
Yeah.
Same door and door. Oh, never mind.
F or G. Okay, there's I think I said that. There's 1 or 2 doors that were off, but go by the drawing. So if the walls are in the right place and the door is just showing too big on the door schedule, just adjust the door.
Okay. And
Yeah.
just change on the door schedule and submit it. Like make that change.
Yep. And I think there's 2 places where the doors are incorrect. So it's that one, and I thought it was one of these doors right here. You might run into that, but whatever is correct here is what you need to do. Yeah. All right, so everything's looking pretty good. We'll create the doors in here, okay? The outer doors, I guess I should say. So I'm going to create this door. And again, I'm going to delete my dimensions here. I'm just going to create this door in place, right? Easy enough. So L for line, or I could use array or an X line. Okay. I know this is a rectangle, so this may not be the case here, but I sort of like to draw it just above the floor plan because when I draw my door frame, I will partially draw it over this red line, right? And I don't want to, number 1, forget that frame line when I'm blocking it. And number 2, I don't want to accidentally select this column as I'm blocking the door. And so I will draw it just above where it needs to be placed so I don't pick something I don't need in the block, okay? So this is let's see, 4, 8. It's a 3 foot. Those are, are those 8 or 12? Those are 8-inch. Okay. So 4, we're going to take 8 inches off of 4 foot. So that's 3'4". Is that a 3'4" door? And then we have a 2-inch frame. So we have a 3-foot door with a 2-inch frame on either side. So I'm going to REC rectangle. I'm going to click. I'm going to draw the frame first at 2, 6. And I'm going to grab that and I'm going to CO copy that to the other side. And then I'm going to draw my door. So my my door panel is 3 feet. So 36, enter. We can do 1.5, enter. There we go. And now I'm going to create my door swing. There we go. Trim, TR, enter, enter. Right, and I'm going to trim off this piece, and then I'm going to delete that little guy that's left over. Okay, so I've got my door there. Now I need to create my attribute. So L for line, of course I like to always make sure that I get my attributes in a thoughtful place, right? So I like to center line it here. So I'm going to click on circle, center radius, and I will make this 6 inches. There we go. And I'm going to create an attribute that will be called door mark. So annotate, or insert, define attribute. This will be door number, and it will be middle center, standard, 5 inches. Okay, click, and I place my attribute. And now it's time for me to block it out. We have a couple doors in here, not a ton. Okay, so W block, I choose a pick point, which will be a corner there. Select objects, enter. This door will be A-door dash 36-inch attributed. Save, okay, and this will be door letter A. Okay, I can put this on its correct layer. I only really have to have one door on the correct layer, because if I copy it around, it will maintain that, and if I match properties, it makes it easy. So M for move, I move it right into place, midpoint. It's very lovely when it all fits together, right? And I have a door here and here, and then we have 2 more windows we're going to do for tonight. So copy this door, right? And we've got 1 door here. M for move, midpoint to midpoint. And then we can mirror that door. MI, enter, click, enter. I don't have to do M2P anymore because I have an element that's centered in there now, right? So click, enter, and there are my doors. And then that door is I, and that door is J. So I could click. This will be door letter I, and door letter J. And everything looks wonderful. I have one more thing we're going to do here. CO, copy. I have to create a window that fits in there, right? So we have this 36-inch one that we generated, and it has everything we need, but it's the wrong size. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to explode a block that I've already created, and I'm going to create a new block out of it. And I'm going to use the opening for this window to help me generate it. So M for move. I'm going to move my window over to there, and I'm going to explode the block. X, enter, select it, enter, and there it goes. I'm going to stretch this end of my window over to here. Now, if you're not comfortable with stretch, you could also just grab these pieces, M for move it down straight, and EX, enter, enter. Oh, look at that. There you go, right? This guy's like, yep, that's the way I'm going right there, right? So easy. You guys will get there, trust me. I remember my first job doing AutoCAD. I was like, how in the hell am I ever going to do this? It was so great. But after about like 3 months, like it's amazing. You just get real quick at it. 2-3 months, you're great. Okay, L for line, and I'm going to line it up, my attribute, M for move it over, there we go. I can delete out those things there, looks pretty good. Now I need to W block it, right? So I exploded the block, removed its block association, I altered it, right? And the reason that I exploded the block was because I wanted to generate a new block, right? If I had double clicked on this and edited that block, right, thinking, oh, I want to make a new size, it would change all the other blocks in the drawing to that new size instead of generating a new one, right? So WB, choose a pick point. Here we go. Select my objects. Enter. And I don't even know the length of this one actually. We'll just guess. Probably 60 inches. Okay. Oh no. 6. Yeah, it's about 6 inches. Okay. Save that. Okay. And this will be letter number 23. Okay. MA, match properties, enter, click, click. Grab it, M for move it right into place. It's perfect. And I can mirror it, MI, enter, click, enter. Click my first point, click my second mirror point, enter, and there is my last little window there. Okay, so we've got the whole outer shell created here. And really, most of the inner shell really lines up with that, right? So we've got our outer columns, this wall comes down to that column and lines up, right? We've got this wall that comes down to that column and lines up. We have a few inner columns, they all run along that same structural grid, makes sense, right? So as you're drawing the rest of this, look at the elements around you and see how they all interact to help you draw it, right? I think you'll find you won't have to measure as much if you start to align objects, just as align objects essentially, right? So this, you know, we've got this column and then we have this column. Where does that column go? Well, it's in line with this one and it's in line with that one. So I would really just start placing those items. These walls come down, they stop there, they go across, right? So everything really somewhat aligns with everything else. Okay. Any questions on drawing the floor plan?
I'll have them about 12:30 a.m. long drawings.
What?
So I'll have them about 12:30 a.m.
Yeah,
long
that's
drawings.
true. That is true. That always happens. That always happens. That's
I think
when you.
I've got it now, but in about 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
The minute you walk out of the room,
Yeah.
you forget it.
Yeah, it's like
You-
that threshold just doesn't mind it on it.
We have a bubble around the college, right? You need us. No,
Keep you coming back.
that's exactly it. So funny. Like, this is so easy. It's so easy. I can just go home and whip this right out. Oh no, it won't be too bad. I think you guys will be fine. So I'll stop there then, and then when we meet again, so hopefully work on this over the weekend, right? And then when we meet on Monday, I'll do this. So I'll start blocking this out for you. And then the next Wednesday, we'll talk about this interior elevation, really, right? So that leaves us, so next week, the 30th and the 1st, and the 1st is our last day of classes. So then if you can kind of have those drawings done by those checkpoints, right? Then that will leave you time just to annotate over the weekend and finish up. So it's coming to an end, folks. It's coming to an end.